I was originally intending today on making a demo of the Meridian and the CLRS, and I thought I'd set up a little patch using only Modbap modules to do that, when it occurred to me that the much more interesting story here is Modbap's approach to designing the modules. And looking at this, we've got just the 5 modules creating all the sounds in the little demo I've got playing behind me. And I've got Nautilus giving us some delay, of course, but it's all sequenced by the black sequencer, and I'm using the steppy for the drums. So actually, all black sequencer's doing is sending out a punch to Meridian for the main line, and the clock to the IntelliGel. Plus, I've got something I'll show later coming out of the modulation on channel 3. If we just look at mod, got this there, but I'll show that in a second. But the sound sources, everything you're listening to is coming from the Modbap Trinity and the OSIRIS. And first off, what I'd really like to talk about is how these modules are so flexible and how clever they really are. Because if you look at the signal flow here and look at what I've got here, we've got no VCAs and no envelopes whatsoever because you don't need them. OSIRIS has got them built in, and obviously Trinity's got them as well, being a drum module. So that makes not just financial self, but also spatially, because you can get a lot more going on in a much smaller space than you might expect. And I've made really in-depth demos of the Trinity and OSIRIS, which I'll link to in the description. They're both really, really cool little units. The OSIRIS, just briefly, it's a wavetable synth, but instead of having a simple linear wavetable, sort of 0 to 64 on the waves, you've got 0 to 32 in the X direction, and you've got 0 to 32 in the Y direction. So that's 1024 wavetables in a grid. So you can move through that grid in the X or Y direction. That's what these 2 big knobs are on the top. But we've got this sub as well, and the sub isn't just an octave or 2 octaves below the main oscillator. It can be, but it can also be a square, a sine, or a triangle, and you can blend between those waves. And it's got its own output, and it's got its own volt per octave input there. So it's effectively like 2 oscillators in one. Again, we've got this high and low fidelity mode. We've also got in here these timbres, and these bring things like wave folding, wave shaping, detuning, extra oscillators, sort of detunes to win pitches of up to an octave basically, and different levels of FM from 1 to 8. So massively flexible, brilliant unit. I mean, let's just have a quick listen. If I just put this VCA onto full, goes into a drone mode. Turn the timer amount up. So you're hearing how many different sounds you can get from just a single position on those XY axes. So hopefully you get an idea there. And actually the sub, if we put the sub on, so this is a constant drone as well, so you can send the sub to its own VCA with its own envelope. And we can mix the sub into the main signal. Mix, let's stick that on drone again. So there's masses you can do with that. Then moving over to Trinity, we've got 3 drum tracks. I'll just take these out so you can see what's happening here. I'm modulating the decay on the hi-hat, using drum 3 as a hi-hat, with an output from the black sequencer as well. but we've got kicks. So we put it onto the kicks, just hold that, and we've got 4 different modes. I can't quite recall what the modes all are at the minute, but we've got loads of control again over these. Got pitch. Let's go to a more standard sound. It's now going through the compressor and the drive over there as well. One thing that would be quite nice on these to have is a complete bypass switch. In fact, let's just take the drums and put them directly into the outputs. So there you go. Sweep time. Decay. So I won't go into this too much. I'm just really showing you that how flexible they are, really, because like I say, I've got a whole demo of this. So yeah, that's the kick. I'll just hold that. It's like the snare. But as I say, flexible, so it doesn't have to be a snare. 3 tracks, loads of stuff to do in there. It's a little bit like a mini Perkins, actually. I've recently got the Erica Synth Perkins, and that's got 4 tracks and loads of control over the tracks, and you can save the settings on it. It's a digital thing. Yeah, that's a really, really cool little unit in such a small space. But as I say, we've seen the Trinity and we've seen the OSIRIS before, so let's move over to the things over here. We've got Meridian, Colours and Performer with a 4, and I'm using these like a separate effects rack, really. I've got Trinity putting drums into Colours, then into Performer, and I've got OSIRIS playing into Meridian, then that's being delayed by Nautilus. I'd use a Modbap one, but they don't make a delay, so it just makes things sound a bit nicer. And then mix these signals down here in this Bafaco stereo mixer. The drums are just coming out in mono, just a single input there. And to show you what I'm doing with the drums, let's have a little play with Performer. Got a delay, reverb, glitch, sort of samples it, then tape stop. So just nice, good fun. We've got this colour button on this as well, which adds things like lo-fi. We've got a high pass and a low pass in there. Bit reduction. And we've also got a compressor as well, although this is getting compressed to death, but you can hear it definitely working there. It's already being compressed in here. So just to show you what this does really, got a low pass, it's like a DJ style mixer, high pass, drive circuit, fabulous that, isn't it? Tape saturation, there's some artifacts in there as well. It adds tapists and modulation like wow and flutter, or tape warp I think it's called. Then we've got bit depth. I should really have taken that off before. So bit depth reduction and sample rate reduction. So anything with a big knob has its own input, so you can control it with CV. Also got a compressor here there as well. You can really hear this working when I've got the bit depth turned up. And also we've got this ducking circuit, so I've got this plugged in here. If we look down at the black sequencer, go to channel 3. Inside there, I've got CVs being sent on the offbeats, which gives us that nice ducking effect. Take it off, bring them back in. So loads of fun to be had live with all that stuff. Then we move over to Meridian, and this is a lot more complex than the other two. This has got 2 filter circuits. Well, it's actually got 3, but I'll go into that in a minute. And on these filter circuits, if we look on the top here, we've got different modes and we've got different types. The types are, well, red is ladder, blue is OTA, OTA being like an MS-20. And then we've got, I think that one's the comb and that one's the 4-man filter. So we've got 4 different filter types, and each of those can be low pass, high pass, band pass, or notch. So this is what this mode button does here. So low pass, high pass, band pass, and notch. Really easy to follow what's happening on here. We've got a cutoff for each of the different filters. We've got resonance for each of the filters as well. Then coming down here, we've got a drive circuit and a crush circuit. And over here on the right-hand side, we've got this sort of stereo panner and phaser. It knocks the signals out of phase and it pans them left and right. So you get some really nice sounds from this. Let's just turn the drums down and have a listen. So this is in band pass mode on a Moog style filter. Let's take the panning off. And you can hear that there's 2 filters in there. So independent cutoff control. And then this on the OTN on the ladder filter is like an offset. So as you move that, they're both moving up and down. But I did say there was 3 filters, and if I bring this into the 4-man, let's put it onto low pass, or the comb filter, this is then another filter. This is basically a separate low pass, or band pass, or high pass, or not. Got to really turn the resonance down to hear a notch properly. Well, let's put them back onto a low pass or band pass on a Moog. And just to show you, you do hear big differences in the filter types. So this is the Moog. This is the MS-20 type. Like this to the Moog. MS-20. Now we'll add some depth and some panning. So depth to this phase shifter. So take this off for now. I'll just add some decay to that. And panning as well. And this goes nice and fast. So there's an awful lot in there to play with. In the center here, we've got a ping. This is like a low pass gate. If I put this onto a drone, let's just take all that down. I can ping that. The amount of ping is set by this knob here. So not very much, or 0. And then we can change the shape of that. So the curve of it from logarithmic to exponential. Let's do that with both of them. Shift. And then shift and turn it the other way. And these will be a lot quicker now. And you can trigger that with CV as well. So when you add all that together, again, let's just stick the delay on because it sounds nice. Decay back to there. get basically that intro track. We've also got stereo mode, dual mono mode, and serial or parallel. Putting them all onto a low pass and a Moog. Just have a drone. Put them in series. Put them into dual mono. Whoops, it's the wrong button. Shift and this. Acts as stereo or dual mono. Let's turn that down. So you can just use it like a standard filter if you want. It's going to band pass. And then high pass. And it's got MS-20 style. Doesn't work so well with that one. And we can also, if we hold type, we can turn the side filters off. So now we've just got the central thing playing. Let's put it onto a Moog. But these knobs, let's turn it off. These knobs now aren't doing anything, but we do have something happening in there. Let's put them onto a low pass. Now this is working and the side ones aren't doing anything. A quick way of getting a standard filter out of it if you wanted. So Meridian is really super flexible, again, just like OSIRIS and Trinity, but like I always say with these, really easy to understand and get to grips with. Things like the Nautilus, for example. I love this thing. I've got the Nautilus in here, I've got the Mojave in here, but if I haven't used them for a while, I've got no idea what the blue mode is or the purple mode is. I do know that the different colours of the seaweed mean different things, but God, can I remember? No. Whereas on these, everything that you've got on there is really easy to follow, like we've just seen with this low pass, notch, high pass, and comb, or sorry, low pass, band pass, high pass, and notch. The type 1, 2, 3, and 4, yeah, you'd have to remember what they are, but it's pretty easy to get to grips with that once you've started playing with them. You know which ones are the Moog and which ones are the OTA. And again, really obvious what you use shift for because it's written in blue. So really simple to understand, but really flexible to use. So you might have guessed I'm a big fan of these units. I think they're great. And what you can do in a small space is quite spectacular. One thing that it doesn't have that would be nice though are attenuators on them. There's just not room for them really. And you've normally got stuff like that in your rack. So if we look at this, for example, I've been modulating the prime frequency with a CV coming in from this little LFO down here. In order to do that, I've put it into this mixer so it can change the level of it. Don't have the level control on the Meridian, so. The other thing you don't have on them is bypass switches. I mentioned earlier on, it'd be nice to have one on colours. Just when you're doing a performance, it's quite nice just to flick them in and flick them out. But, you know, it's not the end of the world, is it? It just means you've got to train yourself when you're doing a performance to know where you're headed, basically. But I guess that's the same with any instrument. The other thing you don't get with these is that sort of clarity and pureness you might get from other types of modules. It's not what they're for. You know, we have lo-fi all over the place on these. We've got dirt and we've got grit, and that's great. I've got the AJH Synth Mini Mod keys, which has got these amazing modules all based on original circuitry of old Moogs and ARPs and EMS, and it sounds beautiful and smooth, but it's a different approach. Modbap for me is more about getting down and dirty and messing around with the signal to explore. all sorts of different textures and colors within the same patch, which when you've seen me playing with these, that's exactly what I do. Look at the OSIRIS demo and I just sit there and play with the one patch for about 5 minutes and it takes you all over the place. It's absolutely superb for that. These are the ultimate in patch tweaking modules. And when I'm setting up a demo with them, I will try all sorts of weird and wonderful changes to evolve the tone, and I'm spoiled for choice really, which is why recording anything with them always takes me days in total, because I end up getting lost in the moments which become hours enjoying myself, which is what they're all about, and it's definitely what I do with these things. So I hope that was of some use to somebody somewhere. If it was, please do subscribe, ring the bell, join me over on Patreon. This channel is funded by YouTube ads, my affiliate links, and my absolutely wonderful patrons who, for less than the price of a really dodgy coffee a month, get access to patches, samples, tutorials, and other little goodies. Also, do take a look at my starskycar.com website as well. We've got patches, samples, and stuff to download. Free stuff to buy. Like I always say, pick up some of the cheaper stuff because it really does help to support the channel. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time.